Well, good morning. It's so good to be back with you again as we are continuing on through our study of outsiders. If you'd like to find out more about this study and the people who put it on, Christ Table, you can visit the URL that is right up there, www.christstable.today. My name is Kevin Young. I have the privilege of being lead clergy at Christ Table, and I would love for you to join us throughout this study. We're only on day 2, and so there are 24 more days that are spread out over 6 weeks. I had to think about that for just a moment. You can join us for these. Each and every one of these are self-contained. You actually don't need any curriculum or anything in order to be a part of it. You can just show up here where you're watching us right now. Or if you'd like to have the curriculum as a part of it, we actually give it away for free, a PDF copy, and you can get that by going to the URL right there at the bottom of your screen, go.christstable.today/outsiders. And there at that website, if you would like to get the curriculum in addition to PDF, if you'd like to get an actual physical spiral bound hard copy of it, along with a great book that we're going to start a book study through here in a couple of days, and some other resources. All of that is available right there. Just go to the website, go.christstable.today/outsiders, and then there just click get the box, and it will give you all the information about how you can get those printed resources in the mail to you. Now, we thank you for doing that. This is completely free, but we appreciate those of you who get the boxes, because that enables us to help fund the things that we do here in our ministry. And so thank you for that. This study of the outsiders is giving us an opportunity to take a unique look at 24 different people in the Bible who were outsiders, who were outside of some community, and most of them were positive influences on the community, and so as outsiders they made a positive impact. But a few of them were not so great in the impact that they made. They were cautionary tales, what not to do as outsiders, and one of them we're going to look at today on day 2 of our study. And we're going to find ourselves in Numbers chapter 16, and I'll have to warn you, we're going to be in a few other places in addition to number 16 as well. Now, we're not going to read through all of Numbers 16, but you might actually want to pull that out and do some extra credit work and read through Numbers chapter 16, because this is quite the story. And this is maybe one that you've heard about, but I think that most of us perhaps haven't heard the full story. And I guarantee that there is probably almost no one, if anyone, was heard, as Paul Harvey used to say, if you know that name, the rest of the story. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right into our text today. When we jump into Numbers chapter 16, we are jumping into the story of the Israelites who were in the wilderness for 40 years with Moses, having just left Pharaoh and Egypt and headed towards the promised land. And the ride, or walk as it were, very bumpy. So one day, Korah, sons of Ishar, a descendant of Korah, son of Levi, conspired with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, son of Peleth, from the tribe of Reuben. Now, there's a lot of names there, and sometimes our eyes glaze over when we're reading names. What you need to know about this is that this Korah, this son of Ishar, is the key character in this story. So that first name in verse 1, Korah, is the key character in this story. And you may not have known from reading what I just read you, but there was a lot of information in there that helps give us a much deeper picture than the surface may first indicate about Korah. The first thing that we learn from this is that Korah is Moses's cousin. And so because of the relationships there that are given, and son and descendant of these folks, we know that Korah is a cousin of Moses. And any of you who have ever had cousins and been around them any length of time will know that sometimes there is some friction between cousins, especially if there is favoritism from the aunts or the uncles or from the grandparents especially. So that will give you a hint as to what we're about to experience here. The other thing that we see in that first verse is that Korah and his family are a part of the tribe of Levi. As a part of the tribe of Levi, that essentially means that they are Levites, which means that they are temple workers, or in this case, they're going to be tabernacle workers. They are the musicians, they are the workers, the staff of the church. They're maybe not the clergy, but they're all of the other responsibilities beyond the clergy in the worshiping community. And so, very important role, very important tribe, Levi, the Levites. And so Korah was a very important individual. Now, for two reasons: the cousin of Moses, family, as well as being an important group of people to help the worshiping community do what they do. So Korah, the cousin, incited a rebellion against Moses, along with 250 other leaders of the community, all prominent members of the assembly. And so it's kind of a story as old as time. It seems as though there was some jealousy, some dislike, that there was some friction between Moses and between Korah and the family. And we said, well, we don't need Moses. Smarter than Moses, better than Moses. Moses doesn't deserve any of this. And so they did what people tend to do, and they stirred up trouble, started bending people's ears. 250 other leaders of the community were wrapped into this web, all prominent members of the assembly. And so this wasn't just a ragtag group of people. This was all of Moses' top folks. So they united against Moses and Aaron. Aaron is Moses' brother, so a cousin as well, and said, "You've gone too far. The whole community of Israel has been set apart from God, and he is with all of us. What right do you have to act as though you are greater than the rest of the Lord's people?" And you can now see why this line of attack wooed so many of the assembly and the leaders away from Moses, and we would say away from God as well, because, hey, wait a minute, we have all been set apart from the Lord. There's a bit of truth in there, and he is with all of us. Yeah, that's right, Korah. What right does Moses have to act as though he's greater than the rest of the Lord's people, other than the fact that God has been working through him, God has been speaking through him, they've experienced plagues, they've experienced the exit, they've experienced the parting of the Red Sea, they've experienced Mount Sinai, like all of this is going on, and he thinks they were probably wrong. So when Moses hears what they were saying, he fell face down onto the ground. And then he said to Korah and to his followers, "Tomorrow morning the Lord will show us who belongs to him and who is holy." And now I'm going to skip actually the part of this story where it actually lays out the process that they go through to determine whether or not it is Moses who is in the right or whether or not it is Korah who is in the right. And so I'd encourage you to go back to Numbers 16 and read that. But essentially what happens in the story is that Moses is found to be right by God, and that the ground opens up and swallows all 250 of those leaders and then closes back up, and they're gone, and the entire community flips the heck out. And you can understand why, right? This will long be remembered as a moment where somebody tried to stand up to Moses, to the leader, and was summarily rejected in their complaint. So much so that they all had, I think, golden incense burners that they had brought as a part of this come to Jesus meeting, as part of this conflict, this duel between Moses and between Korah. But none of those were swallowed up. And so the people of Israel are instructed to gather up all 250 of these golden incense burners, and they hammer them together, and they put these things, this gold sheeting on the temple, so that people will always be reminded whenever they see that gold of the rebellion. That's intense. So Korah is a cautionary tale as an outsider. Korah is a tale of what not to do. Be careful whenever you, as an outsider, are confronting systems and are confronting individuals, that you do so in such a way where you are not placing yourself in a situation where you are in the wrong for what you're calling out on the inside. But this is not the rest of Korah's story, because Numbers actually tells us later in chapter 26, as it is kind of recounting this story that happened earlier, that the sons of Korah did not die that day. So there's kind of an assumption that what happened here is that Korah and his family were involved in gathering all the leaders together and getting this insurrection started against Moses. But the truth of the matter is that it never really says that. It just says that Korah is a part of this and drums up the leaders and great people who were a part of the assembly. But it seems as though that some or all of the rest of Korah's family was not involved in this, and the sons of Korah did not die that day. Now, we've all been in a situation where we are outsiders in community because of the actions of our dad, right? Because of the actions of our mom, because of the history of our family, which we may or may not, but probably may not have had anything to do with. There are so many people who understand what it is like to be an outsider, not because of anything that you've done, but because of something your family has done. And imagine this, being an outsider in the worshiping community of Israel. Your family was once like y'all were the Billy Graham family, and your name is now mud. What are you to do with that? There are people who are going to remember every time they see that gold for generations. They'll be telling the stories of where that gold came from and why it's there as a remembrance. And for many people and for many outsiders, this is the end of the story. The shame that comes from the history of who we are. And so we slip into silence and into shame and maybe even into guilt, and allow that to become part of our identity. But it seems as though the sons of Korah did not let that happen. How do we know that? Well, we know that because in the book of Psalm, which is a song book of many songs, a lot of which were written by David, but not all of them. If you look closely in the book of Psalms, what you're going to see is that there are a lot of Psalms in there who are written by other people. And you may have already guessed it. The rest of the story is that the sons of Korah actually had a hand in some of the songs that are in the Psalm book. Like this one, Psalm 42, which you might recognize if you've been an insider in Christian communities. The song is, "The deer pants for streams of water. My soul pants for you, my God." If you will look in Psalm 42 in your Bible, it will have a designation there that says that this song is written by the sons of Korah. Read it. Psalm 42. See what you think. It says a lot. Psalm 46. Sons of Korah as well. Descendants of that great, terrible, tragic story wrote, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in time of trouble. Be still and know that I am God." Imagine the words and the individuals who wrote those songs writing from a place of pain of that shared family history. In fact, surprisingly, 11 of the Psalms in the Bible are written and come from the sons of Korah. Not just one or two, but 11 of them. That's an enormous number. I want to leave you with this one, though. Better is one day, and you may actually recognize that this is a song as well that is fairly popular in modern times. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. You see, the sons of Korah, they were rejected by the community. They were ostracized. They were outcast because of this. It is guaranteed that they were not able to maintain their normal positions and duties as Levites and as temple and tabernacle workers because of this shame and because of this uprising from their family. And yet, something like 18 generations or so later, their family has come to the place where they are able to say, we may not be able to be the top dog in the worshiping community in the tabernacle, but it's good enough to just be a doorkeeper. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. There is no role in God's community on the inside that is too small for me, that is too humble for me. Fascinating and wonderful. You see, you may feel like you're an outsider, and you may feel like you're an outsider because of your ancestors. Okay. It is what it is. Whether or not you had a role or a part in it, you can't change that, right? But it is possible to embrace the opposite of your ancestors. It is possible to embrace an alternative story than the one that has been written for you or the one that you have written in the past for yourself, as did the sons of Korah, who did so, who embraced a better story, a different story, a greater story than Korah, and did so in humility and in gratitude and in honor, willing to be a part of what God was doing, no matter what position they stood in, even if it was outside. Until tomorrow.